We are live. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Nelson Vasquez from Central Florida. It's 3 p.m. on the 6th of November, 2025. And this is the Kills Health live stream. Today, we have DeNitra Davis, and we're going to be talking to her in just a second. Uh, just please put in the chat where you're watching from. And maybe today we'll give away a Dr. Nelson hat. Dr. Nelson Kills Health hat, hashtag KMT, and it is available in gray and black. We're going to give one of those today to the winner at the end of the live stream. So today we have DeNitra Davis. And DeNitra has a bunch of letters after her name because she has a master's degree. She's also a metabolic health practitioner and a nutrition network practitioner. And so we're going to be talking to her in a moment. I just want to remind everyone that today at 5:30 in the Thursday Kids Mighty Tribe Zoom call, we're going to have Lily Kane. So if you want to hear Lily Kane, come to the Zoom call. The Thursday night Zoom call is for one of the membership levels. Kills Mighty Tribe is always free. The free Zoom call that we have it within the community is on Mondays. There's another levels that include the Tuesday and or Thursday night. So today we'll be talking about a bunch of stuff with Lily Kane, okay? All right, so going back to DeNitra. DeNitra, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastical. How are you?
I'm doing great. Remind me, where are you coming from today?
So, interestingly enough, I am in Memphis, Tennessee at this very moment, which is home for me. But I actually live in Jackson, Tennessee. I've lived in Jackson for 6 years, but I grew up in Memphis. So, I'm here today visiting my father. And so, yeah, that's where that's where I'm from right now.
All right. So remember, put your questions with a QQQ in front of it if you have any questions for DeNitra. And so I'm going to start with asking your why, DeNitra. And
good question.
Some people here may have heard your story, but just in case there are some that haven't, I'm going to ask you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you, and share with us your story, which is incredibly powerful. It includes the reversal of things like lupus, eczema, prediabetes, and some other stuff. So go ahead and
absolutely. Thank you for
tell us
having me,
about it.
first of all. I appreciate it. Always excited to share. As I said before, I'm originally from the Memphis area. Grew up just like, any kid having a ball and fell in love with sugar. Sugar just didn't like me back. And so when I learned that you could have a cake, my stepfather, he was a server and he would bring wedding cake home, and I figured out that wedding cake and birthday cake were the same. And so when I learned that I could just go to the store and buy that cake, then that's what kicked me off with my I believe that's where my sugar addiction started. And so I would buy anybody a cake. If it was your birthday, it didn't matter. I would buy a cake for you, and I needed the four corners off of your cake because that's where the most icing was. Cakes used to have these big flowers on them. And so I just, learned that sweets became a comfort for me. And then I became a server myself, and I discovered restaurants and that I could eat, whatever, at home. We ate mostly at home. And then when I became a little older, I was able to, go to the restaurant, order what I want. So I thought, so all of these things became freedoms for me in order to um, choose the way I wanted to eat and eat whatever I liked. And, the weight kept piling on. Although I did not think that I was getting bigger, I really thought that it was aging. It wasn't until I became a teacher. I was a teacher for a long time, and I got some nice insurance that the doctor appointment started and the diagnosis it started to come. And by that time, I was very overweight. When I look back at pictures of myself, I don't recognize me. I got to figure out how to do this cool thing you're doing behind you so I can have my pictures up. But I was severely overweight, depressed, as you said, diagnosed with lupus, diagnosed with prediabetes, suffered with gout, plantar fasciitis, had a shoulder surgery, and just realized that later that all of those things were tied to the foods that I was eating. And so my why I'm here, one, because I was able to turn my health around because I'm nosy, as my mother would say. So I became very nosy. I lost a very, very close relative that had all the same diagnosis as me. And so I knew that I had to do something different. And so different happened for me with learning, first off, about low carb. So for me, I'm in this space. Um, Wanted to learn the science. You talked about the letters behind my name, but really for me, it was learning the science of why I started to get better. And I just didn't want to say, hey, go try this diet or go eat this way. So I really want to help people. And people who look like me are not in this space a lot, as you know. So I literally am boots on the ground trying to help people know that plant-based isn't the best base to be on. And so I tried vegan, vegetarian, high cholesterol. I was a honey nut Cheerios girl. And yeah, I was very sick, not well at all. I mean, I just feel like a totally different person at this stage in my life. And
So
I'm
what? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. But what was the moment when you said, "Okay, I've got to do something," and you started searching? And you also mentioned what was going to be my next question: the plant-based failure or the plant-based time that you had in search of feeling better. So what was the point of the break point essentially, and what happened when you tried also a plant-based approach?
absolutely. So the plant-based approach came when I was diagnosed with high cholesterol. And I was told that I needed to do low fat. So I did all the almond milk, the honey nut Cheerios, ate nothing related to meat. I just had vowed never to have meat again. So I had this fancy nut collection. I ate lots of nuts. Um, but I was still eating sugar, right? Because cake is not is not meat. So surely I can have it. It's still plant-based. Oreos were still plant-based. And so for me, the time came that in that time I lost weight. I thought I was getting healthier because I was losing weight. As a matter of fact, it was one of my smallest times. But at that time, I also was diagnosed with lupus. And so I was, at the doctor, I was dealing with a lot of depression. And I was at the doctor. She was subscribing me Cymbalta um, for depression, all while doing the ANA, the anti-nuclear antibody test on me relative to lupus. And she told me that this test will never be negative. It will always be positive. And so I went deeper into the plant-based and became vegan because I wasn't doing vegetarian right now. I need to be vegan. And like about and this was about 6 months after I lost this loved one who had also been diagnosed with lupus. And so I was in total fear. So it was a huge wake up for me that I'm not doing anything that I know she did. One was to take Plaquenil. I wasn't doing that. And I went to two rheumatologists and they both prescribed and told me that it would never change or get better. And about 3 months into my visits, I just stopped going. Nothing that they were doing was making me better, and I was refusing to take their meds. And so I started doing research to figure out. I started learning about nightshade vegetables. And so I tried to stay vegan and vegetarian while taking out nightshade vegetables. And that improved some. I even went to like a 12-step program, um, 12 steps through faith and healing. And none of those things really got me to a place of healing until I learned about low carb all the way. And I took a class by Dr. Westman. Dr. Westman offered a Keto Made Simple class. And that was the big turning point for me, to learn that although I had been trying to be low carb, that I was still eating sugar. So one thing that I say out loud is that if you take all meat out your diet, you're only eating sugar. So to understand that sugar was my problem, I needed to get it all out. And so that was my turning point, was the death of this loved one who was extremely close to me. Was just a huge light bulb for me to wake up and do something different.
You mentioned be, besides the lupus, which is something uh, that I'm very impressed about, because a lot of doctors, professionals will not, at, at, even when faced with improvement, they will say, no, it's not the diet, it has got to be something else. And very often they cannot even explain it when autoimmune diseases get better by eliminating all or most of the carbohydrates, which are basically mostly plants. Uh, but you also mentioned depression. And, we are finding more information the past 5, 10 years about mental illnesses getting better with a very low carbohydrate diet, ketogenic diet, anxiety, depression, but things as serious as schizophrenia and bipolar illness, basically the whole spectrum of mental illnesses getting better. How soon after going very low carb or carnivore did you see any improvement in depression?
That's a great question. So for me, when I started to take out the nightshade vegetables, I started to see improvement then. That was a big deal breaker for me. No eggplant, no tomatoes, no sweet potatoes, no potatoes, because I was a huge potato eater. And breading on food. So it was really quick for me. I would say within about the 90-day mark, I really started to realize like my brain wasn't crazy. I felt more joyful, because there was literally a time where I would sit in my closet in the dark. Like there was no escaping, but I then did not even connect it to the food. So let me say this, even the depression going away, I still did not make the connection until I started to do more research and learn that, oh, okay, this was connected. What you were eating was also part of the problem. And so getting better, I mean, when your brain starts to heal is the way I feel now. When your brain starts to heal, everything improves. There's this joy you have when you see these improvements to just keep pushing forward, right? Um, and so yeah, depression went away pretty quickly for me. I was also doing um, some church things, involved in some ministries, that were very helpful, to just kind of like uncovering like past things that could be, amplified along with what I was eating. So many of those things were amplified.
So, in your search for healing and feeling better, you've gone through basically the whole spectrum because started at one end, went even further, from vegetarian to vegan, and then you transition over to keto and eventually carnivore. What is your advice to people as far as I want to do carnivore? Do you jump right in full speed into carnivore, or do you transition people into it?
So I've done a little bit of both, and so a little bit about my backstory in getting there. I was very dirty keto. I was very dirty low carb, and so my progression was continuing to do research and meet other people. Right. So I found the Emmerichs, and the Emmerichs are who helped me clean up my keto because I thought if it said no sugar, I could eat it. If it said keto, I could eat it, and I wasn't getting well. I was getting better, but not well. So for me, the thing that I try to, as a teacher, a former teacher, I try hard to not do labeling. It's hard in this sphere that we're in. So for me, the idea of taking out, understanding that anything that's not meat is plants is what helped me. Right. And so when I'm talking to people who are on this journey and they start off by saying, oh my God, I can't eat all meat, that's too much. Right. I say to them, the goal is sugar awareness and understanding that all carbohydrates are a saccharide, and a saccharide is a sugar. So it's either going to hit your bloodstream fast or it's going to hit it slow, but it's still going to be sugar. And so I ask people, how much of a blood hit do you want? You have to decide, right? Where do you want your sugar hit to fall? Do you want to wake up in the morning eating wheat toast, oatmeal, drinking orange juice, eating fruit to say that you're being healthy and you've had a full diet of sugar in the morning? And then later in the day, you're still ravenous because you're not satiated. So now you've chosen this big salad to eat with a little piece of protein. So I get them to kind of see how much sugar they're already consuming in a day. And now how much sugar do you want to continue to consume in a day? Hey, carnivore cutie. That's my buddy. So yeah, that's how I approach it. So I have people that are on all spectrums. I have people like, I'm out of here, I'm done, I don't want to eat any more sugar. I have people who say, hey, I'm gonna do it keto, I'm gonna do still green vegetables. And then I also push people to get their labs, like know what your labs say so that you know where your deficiencies are. And so that's a struggle for some people to, if they don't have their lab work, to know that there is definitely sickness there. So for me, they can be on any spectrum. Some people, I'm working with an older lady now who doesn't like beef. So she eats primarily turkey, salmon, and she still does her green vegetables. So you can be on any spectrum. I say if you had a mother, if the animal had a mother, you can eat it. That's what we say, right? You can eat nose to tail. And I just try to encourage them to understand that any plants, no matter how healthy you think they are, they're going to be a sugar hit to your body. That's eye opening for some people.
Absolutely, absolutely true. So you mentioned, and I mentioned probably before you even did, that you improved or reversed lupus. I think you also did. You have gout as well.
Oh, yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so tell us a little bit about that. Uh, reversing your lupus and the markers, which I can tell you that many people can have positive markers of different diseases in lupus. Uh, there's a couple of things that you check on a regular basis. One of them is you mentioned the ANA, also the double-stranded anti-DNA antibodies, and a few other things, inflammation markers like CRP and set rate, and things like that, right? And people with lupus and all kinds of autoimmune conditions could have some of these markers positive and not necessarily have severe symptoms. And sometimes they can have severe symptoms. And the markers are a little bit confusing because some of them are positive and some of them might be negative or absent. But tell us about uh, the lupus, the diagnosis, and getting better.
Absolutely. So for me, the diagnosis was the ANA. I went to two rheumatologists. I don't know that I've ever had the markers. My CRP is definitely improved. The ANA is negative. Um, I
But
was
but it was
I
positive
had
at
a
some point.
positive ANA.
Yeah.
My primary doctor recommended me to a rheumatologist. I went to that rheumatologist. I wasn't satisfied, so I went to a second one, and they both, based on symptoms, I was told that lupus is a symptomatic diagnosis where they take the number of symptoms that you have to diagnose you. So I lived in all of them. I had dandruff, dry scalp, eczema, skin issues, the depression. It was like 11 markers. Um, and so for me, for about 4 years, I was afraid to get the test again. Not really afraid, but because she told me that it would never be negative, I never did the ANA again. And so my new doctor, who I met through Dr. Westman, became my doctor. And I asked her if she would run the test again. And we would, you know, just checking it out, and it's negative, and it's remained negative um, as a marker for me. And so I have zero symptoms. My skin has improved. Dandruff has improved. I no longer have gout. And at that time, gout was the other reason why I stopped eating meat, because they said that gout was due to red meat and seafood. I love crab legs, and I went years where I would not allow myself to have crab legs, only to have a gout flare up still. And that's when I understood that it was more about the sugar than about the red meat. And so my continuation of eating sugar in any form was still causing me skin issues. I mean, I've had all kind of skin grafts and allergy tests that they couldn't find anything pressing to point to it. They were just medicating me, giving me medicine for this, skin medicine. But I tell you, when I took the sugar out, this it's like everybody else says in this world, like it's like this miraculous fix, that stuff that you don't even remember was a problem is now cleared up for me, including losing weight. I've lost about 60 pounds since I've been on this journey. I still have more to go. Dr. Kiltz teased me when I saw him in Kalamazoo because I talked about my visceral fat, but I told him it's still here, Dr. Kiltz. I got to get rid of it. So, yeah,
Many of us on that journey, by the way.
yes, yes,
Even though, I mean, you can see here the difference, more than 100 pounds, but I still have some visceral fat to go to, uh, trying to get away from it, but it keeps chasing me.
yes.
All
I
right.
understand. I
So
lived the life.
you mentioned prediabetes, and the problem with sometimes terminology is we have to define it and make a, a differentiation between some of the terminology. In this case, I'm talking about diabetes and pre-diabetes. I think it's all part of the same spectrum. So even before you're pre-diabetic, you've develop some insulin resistance, and studies show that even within the pre-diabetes range, you can already have complications, and in fact, your incidence and or your risk for cancer increases, coronary heart disease and strokes, cardiovascular disease, it increases, all cause all cause mortality increases, and you don't have to get to the diagnostic place or to achieve to be a diabetic before you have those. Many people, in fact, die before they are ever diagnosed with diabetes with complications of diabetes. So I think you that the terminology might need to be changed. I don't think this pre-diabetes is a little bit like being pre-pregnant, either pregnant or not.
Absolutely right.
Uh, so I would say stage one diabetes, if you would, because we can look back at studies, and there are plenty of them, where you're having all these complications already before you're even diagnosed with diabetes. I've been diagnosed in diabetes for over 40 years, and very often I have diagnosed with some people who are pre-diabetic with complications of diabetes, like peripheral neuropathy or diabetic neuropathy, and many other problems before they are even supposed to be diabetes or diabetics. In your case, uh, tell us about that and how quickly that reversed.
You make a huge point, and it's one that I try to make often as well. I often say when I have the opportunity to speak to folks is don't let the pre fool you. So a lot of times when we hear the word pre, we think we're in some kind of safe zone. All things are well. I got time. This is before. And so I say don't let the pre fool you. And I use a chart when I'm working with my clients, and I'm happy to share it here as well. Where I've now learned about insulin resistance, which is what I call the precursor to prediabetes. I say that prediabetes and diabetes is only one reaction, if you will, to insulin resistance. So for me, because I didn't have that knowledge, everything that I named before lives on the chart that I share with clients, right? The the gout, the depression, the eczema, the high triglyceride, all of these things were already showing up that, in my opinion, doctors were missing because they didn't do a fasting insulin. I had never heard of a fasting insulin until I started hanging around these spaces. And so for me, in retro, looking back, I know now that all of those things were, you could put pre on all of them because they were insulin resistance. They were all tied to what I was eating and being high stressed. And so for me, the improvements started to happen, not really fast, because at the time I still wasn't connecting them. I was still having eczema flare ups. I used to think I couldn't be in the sun. I would be at the beach all covered up because I thought I had a problem, that the lupus was the symptom of it was my skin burning. And so while I was getting better, I was still seeing those symptoms. But what I later learned is that my body really was reacting to foreign substances, to the sun. The sun was burning something. I don't have that problem now. I can be in the sun. My skin doesn't burn. My neck is not black, but as a result of what I had been eating. So again, removing those things from my diet allowed me to um, not have the same complications. So for me, again, everything starts to get better. In the you don't even pay attention to all of those things at the same time, but little by little, you just start to see things fall off. Um, and one, again, is my skin. My skin used to be super, super dark. If you look at old pictures of me, and it was not a dark from being black, it was a dark from being inflamed. It was inflammation. My eyes were dark. my neck was dark. I used to wear like a sleeve on my arm. I bought these sleeves on my arm because whenever I would drive, my visor in my car wasn't enough to block the sun on my arm. So if I had my arm up on either side, they would just be burnt from the sun. And so I have these sleeves that I will wear. I don't wear them anymore. I haven't worn them. I haven't had a breakout as a result.
You have coined a phrase or a series of words or branded them into what you call your ACE philosophy.
Yeah.
Talk to us about that.
So yeah, the ACE philosophy is advocator, coach, educator, and it really happened out of order. It's so funny because I'm an educator. I'm a certified teacher. I have a master's degree in education, but I'm also always advocating and trying to help, people and helping them advocate for themselves. But then in this space, everything is considered a coach, right? You're a health coach. And so for me, part of what I've learned through, NMP and MHP is that coaches don't really teach. You kind of let people discover what's going on with them. You kind of draw them in with questions. Well, the me that I ain't drawing you in with questions. I'm going to directly teach you. So that's why I keep the educator on there so that people know that when they meet with me, that they're going to get some teaching. Every session I have with a client includes me teaching them something about this way of eating. And I think that in the traditional technical kind of coach setting, that's not what happens. But for me, there needs to be some foundation laid before I can expect you to discover insulin resistance. I need to teach you what that is. I need to teach you what blood sugar means. I don't want you trying to discover that, right? And so the advocating for me is I tell my clients and people that I work with, I say to them, hey, advocating sometimes means I'm going to go against you. You're going to tell me that you want to continue to eat nuts and you want me to help you figure out how to do it when I'm looking at a rash on your face that could be directly tied to the nuts that you're eating. So now I'm advocating for you. But we also with our company, we teach people to self-advocate for themselves. And many people don't have the confidence and the boldness to challenge their doctor. So a part of what I do is challenge them so they can then challenge their doctor.
Yeah. I mean, I think a coach definitely has multiple dimensions to what they do, right? And they should be a motivator, a cheerleader, but you also have to teach and educate, provide information. It is going to be ultimately the client's decision on what to do, but unless you show them and teach them something, they might not find that on their own. I mean, so
I
it is
I agree with you.
multidimensional.
So I'll say from my experience in some cases where I've been coached, even relative to health, the it was played so safe that I think I missed some things because all the conversations were about these discoveries that I needed to be making. Like, how do you feel about that? Well, what do you think about that? Well, how did that make you feel? And I think all of that's great, and I think it has a place. But I also think in this space, there is this life and death happening right before my eyes, and the educator in me will not let me not say to you that your eyes may be dark because, or your ankles may be feeling like they feel because. Can we kind of unpack that? So I try to work with them in a way that says let's unpack it. So my new letter, I'll tell you, I haven't added it fully yet because I don't always. This is what I call my superpower: is disruptor.
Uh-huh.
That's my superpower. When I spoke at the World Nutrition Summit in South Africa recently, My title was Disrupting Health Myths. And so that's the other thing that I really try to do is show up in places where it's not health related and talk about health. So I'll book a booth at a women's retreat that's not about health and talk about health and meet with ladies that way in unexpected places. Um, and so I think that that's part of what we have to do. Like I like the kumbaya among us as, carnivores and low carbers. We can hang out. There's no question around, everybody at the table is having meat. So I try to show up in places where there's a little disruption. Disruption doesn't mean, breakdown. It just means bringing some awareness that people may just not know. I mean, in my world, a lot of people think that vegetables get a free pass. Macaroni is a free pass. It's better than meat. I don't know how you think macaroni is better than meat, but somehow you've learned enough wrong information that you think macaroni is better than meat. So I'm going to help you say, no, we're going to talk about this pasta is sheetrock. I say that out loud to people. Like a bun is a utensil. That's the same ingredients basically as sheetrock.
You've mentioned something related to what I'm going to show you. So I'm
Okay.
going to just show you this. And I'm sorry I cannot make it bigger,
Okay.
but I don't know if you can see on the back of my wrist here that, by the way, that big guy there, and I'm still big, but that is me.
All right. All
Uh,
right.
uh, are you able to see the
I
back
can
of my
see.
wrist?
I do see the back of your wrist. It looks like a dark spot on your wrist.
Yeah, yeah. So this is my right arm, my right wrist. You cannot see that spot right now. Now that
Okay.
picture is about uh, 28 years old or something like that. And I had some acanthosis nigricans as a result of what? Hyperinsulinemia. Now, I don't have
Absolutely.
an insulin level from that time, but I can tell you for sure it was hyperinsulinemia, and that's no longer there.
Yay. Yay. And
All
that's
right.
that's the thing is that there are so many things that get cleared up that I mean, I've had marks to move away from my legs longer. And I just say it all was tied to, I call them sugar reactions. These are reactions to sugar. And one of the big ones is blood pressure. So many people are on a blood pressure med. When I'm talking to my clients, they never associate that with their sugar level. So I was recently working with a client who has hypertension and she has been on blood pressure medicine and she's been trying this way of life. And I always say it's you don't tell anybody you're doing carnivore. Tell them you're reducing your sugar. You're eating less sugar. That's a tip for everybody that's listening. If you don't want to name it carnivore, just tell them you're eating less sugar. And she had an episode at work where her sugar dropped low because she hasn't been eating sugar. And I was helping her understand that what was really happening is now you're getting a double dose. You're taking your meds still, and you're no longer eating anything that the meds is helping, right? And so it clicked for her to understand that the sugar is what's causing her to have the high blood pressure as well.
Probably the most common cause that nobody knows about. I say nobody because we we are taught in medical school that 90% of the time we don't know what the cause of hypertension is. And my theory is that most of those are definitely just because of chronic excessive carbohydrate consumption. In other words, we are eating too many carbohydrates, and our hormonal uh, system that deals with blood pressure. When you have more carbohydrate, you retain more fluid. your adrenals and kidneys work to try to relieve that, but you're overwhelming the system, and basically you're causing your hypertension with your diet. And as soon as you go in a low carbohydrate or carnivore diet, your blood pressure starts coming down. Now, for some people, it might take just a few weeks. For some people, it might take years. It depends probably on how long you've had hypertension and how much damage it has caused in your system, in your arteries and your kidneys. When I went carnivore, it took me about 7 months of tapering down medication to finally stop all medication. I remember the last time I took any blood pressure medication was 14th of February, uh, 2024, so a year and a half or more ago. And I remember the date because the following day is my birthday. And the morning of my birthday, I passed out because my blood pressure was so low that I passed out. So I didn't even take medication that day. It was just what I had taken the day before was a small dose. But I was taking very high doses of two blood pressure medications. And slowly and steadily, I tapered off the medications. Always do that with your doctor.
Absolutely.
Uh, don't do that on your own. I also consulted my doctor every morning when I looked in the mirror. Anyways, but do that with your doctor because you need to know if you have take if you're and that applies not only to blood pressure medication, any medication. Work with your doctor to come off the medications if you're improving. Okay, most doctors will work with you, uh, even if they are not keto friendly doctors or carnivore friendly. But if you show that your blood pressure is getting better, they'll work with you to decrease your medications, whether it's blood pressure or diabetes medication or any other medication. I mean, even if they cannot explain it, doctors are happy to make medication changes if you show to them that improvements, right? So whatever you're doing, if your autoimmune problems improve, they'll take you off the medications or diabetes, hypertension, and all these things.
And that's the
All right.
thing that we have to continue to do is help the patient, the client to self advocate for themselves. I mean, that's why we keep showing up in these spaces to offer information so that they can challenge what's happening rather than just accepting it. I mean, one of my clients was taking a blood pressure medicine, then prescribed potassium, and didn't understand that the blood pressure medicine what was causing the potassium to be low. So can we fix the blood pressure so that then the potassium becomes a non-factor, right? So yeah, I agree with you on that. I was going to share, if you want, I have the little chart that I share with
Sure.
um my clients, and then I'll share some pictures of me as well. Let me see if I can figure out how to get where I'm going. Um,
You should have something that says present or invite.
mm-hmm. I don't want to do that one. So I'm gonna pull these up. Let's see if I can do it right though. So these are actually pictures. I'll show you these first. These are before and after pictures of me. Are you able
Okay.
to see them, Doc?
I Yeah.
Okay.
You're gonna
So
have to click on one of them to see them
can you see
bigger.
it?
I mean, I see this is what I'm seeing,
Oh
but
yeah, and I can't see you anymore because when I go to my screen, it doesn't allow me to.
but if you highlight any of them, we'll be able to see it better because I'm seeing just the page where all of those pictures are
I
together.
see what's happening now. Okay, let me go do that. Let me go out and then go back into just a picture. Does that
Okay.
show now?
All right.
Yep. So that's one picture of me. Now I don't know how to go to more.
If
This is
they're
the
all in the same, if they're all in the same folder, you can just
now I
write
can
or
slide through them. Okay. Okay, let me try that. Okay, you're teaching me something. I'm always learning when I come into these spaces. Okay, let me go to this and now see if they
if you
move.
hit the right arrow or left arrow, if you're you should be able to see whatever is in the same folder.
Yeah, it didn't do that. It only picked up one of them. So let me go undo this one. Okay, let me go try this. Let me remove. Okay. I'm learning. Sorry.
It's all right.
Um so if I go here and I go here, that's us though, huh? That's us. That's not right. But let me try to see if I pick this. I think I'm not going to worry about it. I want to make sure we maximize our time. My website has some really good pictures on it.
What's your website? Put it in the chat
Okay,
so
I'll
people.
do that right here. Say nutritional. So for those that are listening, our company is called Nutritional Knowledge. We spell nutritional KNEW, nutritional knowledge, because we believe if you knew better, should you do better. So that's my website that I'm about to put in here right now. There you have it, nutritionalknowledge.com. There's some before and afters of me and my husband and some of the people that we've worked with in our area too are also on there.
All right. Now, I have a question for you.
All
And
right.
this is I someone put a question there. I will bring it up in a second. But one of the questions that I had for you was relating to, first of all, if you're gonna start carnivore, do you recommend people to track, or are there people who just don't need to track? What's your opinion on that?
Ooh, that's a really, really, really good question. So prior to recent, I would have said no tracking. I would have said just eat meat, and that is how I started. But I've been doing some N=1 experiment, and I've learned my direct macros, and learning my macros have helped me overcome some stalls. So I would say it depends on where you are in your journey, right? So what I do with my clients when they first start with me, I use Practice Better, and I have a way for them to track their food before they ever meet with me so that we can go back and look at those 5 to 7 days before we actually have a meeting. The goal for that is for them to have a visual of what they've been eating, how many carbs. I mean, some folks were eating 300 carbs in a day, and never realized it. So in that case, I think that tracking is
Which
really
is very
good.
easy. It's very easy to do. I mean, if
After
you're on the standard American diet, it's that very easy to do.
it,
Uh,
and the hard part, Dr. Nelson, is that in an umbrella of trying to be healthy, like one of the people is a pescatarian, right? But was eating like veggie burgers with a bun and some French fries. But the veggie burger was supposed to be so healthy, so they thought, until we unpacked the ingredients in the veggie burger. So in that case, I say to people, yes, track, get a base point, figure out where you are, figure out how many carbs you're eating. Once you kind of get a little dance with what you're doing, then you can focus on just eating meat. That's what makes it so simple, right? So now that I've been doing this macros, the only thing I decide now is am I eating, am I fasting? That's my new decision. Am I fasting today, not eating at all? Am I eating one meal today or am I eating two meals? The new thing for me is even in my two meals, I'm going to break that up so that my macros remain the same. I wasn't doing that before. Even if I had two meals, it may have been two meals that was putting me over the macros that I should be having. So I think again, it's a personal thing. I tell my clients that this is an intimate time for you to like really get to know your body and your body really get to know you and start to trust you. That is the goal, is that your body starts to trust you.
So, as far as lab tests or lab or imaging testing, what are the top two, three, four, five tests that you would like to see on someone? Uh, and when? Is it before starting carnivore? Or is it 6 months after? A year after? Do they need fasting insulin, A1C, CAC score? What do you think?
That's it. So I am a big proponent of having a fasting insulin and the A1C married together. They work together. I also, if anyone comes to me that tell me that their doctor tells them that they have LDL cholesterol, bad cholesterol, that's one of the advocating things that I help them learn is that advocate for yourself and ask for CAC. I explain to them that insurance typically doesn't cover it, but it's worth every penny. I have high cholesterol, but my CAC is a zero and has remained a zero. CAC, coronary artery calcium score. Um, that's one that I ask for. And for me, I always ask for the ANA test. I've worked with about 5 women in the last 3 months. All of their ANA tests were positive. They had no clue. The doctor had never done that for them. C reactive and C peptide are ones that, I kind of toss in, but I also recommend people to get Dr. Berry's Common Sense Lab book. I mean, it's what I use. Like my pages are like bent over now because I've used it so much to try to help clients. This is the part where we teach people to advocate for themselves. You can have the same tools. These tools are not exclusive to us. There was a time when only doctors knew the best things to have or to find out. But you can order Dr. Berry's Common Sense Labs book and understand the numbers. One of the things I do say to people when they tell me, like, all my numbers were normal, everything was in the green, I do have them to pause. So we'll use the A1C as an example. Your A1C is a 5.5, and the cutoff is a 5.7 to be pre diabetic. As a teacher, I tell them that's the difference between a D and an F. It's not something to brag about, right? Like,
And actually might be even closer because a 5.5 and a 5.7, just as an example,
mm-hmm.
are on either side of the line, right? The 5.6 is exactly the borderline between one and the other. And it might be within the margin of error of the test. So if you have a 5.4 and 3 months later you have a 5.5, don't think that is worse, but don't think it's better because it's about the same. This is how I look at it because I know they are within the margin of error of each other. Okay. Now, if one is 5.0, the other one is 6.0, yes, that is very different. Now, we have a question here. Uh, and she asks, she says 1 year carnivore, recent blood work, A1C 5.1. Would a fasting insulin be recommended? What do you think?
I say yes. because the job of insulin, and this is a lot of people again when they say all my numbers are good and you don't have the fasting insulin, we have to see if fasting insulin is the thing that is actually keeping the A1C low. And you won't know that unless you do the fasting insulin. So I had a client who had a 5.6, but her fasting insulin was like a 9 or a 10. So in her mind, I'm just barely pre-diabetic, right? But when you look at this fasting insulin and know that the fasting insulin is running high, the insulin is the thing that's working overtime to keep the A1C low. So I say yes. I think anytime a A1C, I think as we talk about advocating and changing policies, I think that it should be automated that you have a fasting insulin and an A1C at the same time. Let me add this as a caveat that I think is also something that we should be advocating for. When you get your numbers from your doctor relative to a fasting insulin, the range is like 1 to like 100. You can help me with that one, Dr. Nelson. Like it's like a large number that still make people think once they get a fasting insulin that they're good. But remember, we're looking
Yeah,
for
some labs will mark a fasting insulin of 18. There's another lab that up to 25 they consider it normal. It is not. It
it's
is
not.
certainly not.
It's
I
not.
mean, uh, in our space, if you listen to people like Ben Bickman, for example, and some of the others that talk about this, first of all, you have to understand that fasting insulin is just one static measure in time, and you should be fasting, but just one time might not be enough to give you the complete picture. But it is the best circumstances to have a fasting insulin at least, I would say, at least 12 hours without eating, uh, and no more than 16, by the way. Fasting labs, if you're being fasting for 3 days, don't do any any fasting labs under those circumstances, because when we talk about labs, we talk about standardized results, and they have to be within the same circumstances to be able to compare to each other. But, anyways, answering her question, 5.1, by the way, is great. I would have preferred to have a fasting insulin. If you don't have it, 5.1 is still great. Uh, but knowing that fasting insulin, it's helpful because, like you said, if you have a 10 or 20 or even 30, or there are people with even larger numbers, that gives you an idea that your A1C might be normal because the rest of the engine is working overtime to keep it that way, right? So, uh, you mentioned cholesterol, and have also mentioned Dr. Westman, which I'd like to listen to him as well and read his books. Uh, by the way, he's just 2 months younger than me. Uh, I met him in low carb Boca earlier this year. And my
Nice.
first question to him, because I already knew he had been born the same year as I was. And so the first thing was, when is your birthday? What month? Anyways, so cholesterol and the CAC score you mentioned. So talk to us about that. And we're coming up to the top of the hour, by the way.
Sure. So with your LDL cholesterol, which they tell you it's bad, the LDL cholesterol is actually not bad. It's good, and you need it, and you want it. So I always suggest that folks couple the CAC with that because that gives you an actual picture of your heart versus this preventive measure that we are being told that the LDL is. And so when people go get that, me included, as I said before, my CAC score was a 0. The doctor was actually still trying to keep me on a statin, only to know that, I mean, statins, it's $1 trillion business. Go figure, right? So yes, please couple your CAC with a um couple the LDL cholesterol with a CAC, or uncover your HDL and triglycerides. But definitely don't, I can't tell you this officially because I don't give medical advice, but
Don't
consider.
rely on the LDL cholesterol. I know that's what you're thinking. That
Yes,
is my opinion. It's your opinion. We're not anybody's doctor here. We're not giving medical advice. My
we need
opinion.
LDL. What we're finding in the research, the most recent research, is that people who have dementia also have low cholesterol in their brain. So that means that your brain is running on sugar because it's not getting fat. Okay. Um, yeah, I don't know if you have other questions. It seems like I see a few more questions,
Oh,
and I'm happy
I
to.
have a bunch more, but we are past our time here. Thank you very much for being here.
I want to say
By the,
two things if it's okay.
go ahead, go ahead. Oh,
If
I
you,
can be here until midnight. I
no,
not a
it's all
problem.
good. If you can take the question down, I want to invite people to from your channel to go. I'm still growing my channel. I want to invite them to go to my YouTube channel and like, subscribe. I do have a show, Carnivore Ish. Dr. Nelson has been on my show. As a matter of fact, this is the first show I've done since we met on my show, Dr. Nelson. So my show is called Carnivore Ish, and carnivore ish is a play off of our branding for nutritional knowledge, but the ish stands for informed, satiated, and healing. So this is not strict carnivore. This is, let's come in together and figure out our own formula. Also, I'm at advocator coach educator, or you can look up DeNitra Davis. So I would appreciate that. And then Dr. Nelson, I don't
Yes,
know if you,
I'm showing your channel right
I see
now.
it up there. I don't know
Uh
if you remember that tomorrow is my birthday.
oh,
I will be
happy.
double nickels tomorrow. And you didn't give a, you were going to pull a name for your cap as well today.
Yes, yes. So go subscribe to her channel and let me run the hold on a second because I
Thank
have
you for
to
having me.
let me
I should have brought my picture. We do birthday steak now. We put candles on steak now.
hashtag KMT. I'm gonna give you one more chance. Five, four,
Oh,
three,
it's not showing
two,
up. The rounder is not showing up.
one. Oh, hold on a second.
Yeah, we can't see it.
It is here. Oh, let me stop this. Uh, hashtag KMT.
And then the question is still there. I can see your screen now. Thank you,
Oh,
Louis, for putting my channel up. I appreciate you putting the link to it. Thank you so much. Thank
all
you.
right. Here we go.
Let's see who's the winner. Angela.
Angela. Email Alia at drkills.com. Alia, ALIA, at drkills.com. Doctor spelled out. And tell her if you want a black or gray Dr. Nelson hat. Okay?
And anyone who would like to be a friend
Congratulations.
of mine on Facebook, feel free to send me a friend request as well on Facebook.
All righty. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
This was very good, I think.
Thank you.
We're all on this journey together, right? And some of us may need to be more strict or less strict. Some of us may tolerate eating some carbohydrates, some plants more than others. I even carnivore things like cheese. I love cheese. Don't, I could do without it, certainly. Uh, anyways, subscribe to her channel, and at 5:30 we have Lily Kane in our Zoom call on Thursdays in the Kills Mighty Tribe. So I'll see you there, if not tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. And thank you for being here. And thank you, DeNitra, one more time.
Thank you. I appreciate it. This was awesome. Had to Dr. Kilton Alia for me.
All righty.
All right. Take care.
And whoever is going to hack your health, remember to stop by our booth. Okay? Bye bye.
Bye.
Eat meat.
It heals.